Jurassic Park Newsflash, Day 36, Escape of the Dinosaurs. The neighborhoods are threatened, and only the dino trackers led by T.Rex Turner can stop them. Turner stuns a young T-Rex with a trank arrow.
Get the restraints on him!
Jaws Jackson at his dino capture trap put the squeeze on a ramhead.
Trap him and wrap him, boy.
And Harpoon Harrison hooks the demon.
Get some braces on those teeth! Yeah!
Jurassic Park, dino trackers and dinosaurs each sold separately.
Kenner's Jurassic Park Series 2 toy line from 1994 remains infamous in the Jurassic fandom due to both its limited release back in the day and its overall rarity online. Now, most figures released in the wave were either repaints or repackages of prior figures from Series 1 released back in 1993 alongside the film. A good example being the repainted Series 1 humans with remolded head sculpts to better resemble the actors from the film, such as Laura Dern as Ellie Sattler, Bob Peck as Robert Muldoon, etc. Another example are the repackaged smaller dinosaurs from Series 1, only this time with included capture gear to play into the whole idea behind the toy line being that several dinosaurs had escaped the island and needed to be recaptured. Of course, alongside the various repaints and re-releases, there were a wide variety of new dinosaur species introduced, such as Lycanops, Baryonyx, Quetzalcoatlus, and the ever-elusive Carnotaurus, just to name a few. Alongside these new creatures were a brand new batch of human characters never before seen in the franchise, as they were exclusive to this toy line alone. These characters being the Dino Trackers, comprised of Jaws Jackson, Harpoon Harrison, and their leader T.Rex Turner, as well as the Dino Raiders, comprised of both Skinner and Dr. Snare. As outlandish as Kenner's Jurassic Park Series 2 toy line was, the most intriguing aspect to fans, myself included to this day, has always been the cancelled or otherwise unreleased toys from the line. These toys never saw the light of day, as many never made it past the prototype stage of development. One of these figures being the third member of the Evil Raiders, Scrap Davis, a half-human, half-cyborg character with an interchangeable robot arm, grappling hook blaster, and Dimetrodon hatchling. Another example are the two unreleased repainted variants of both the Jungle Explorer and Bush Devil Tracker. I myself happen to own a customized Series 1 Jungle Explorer that has been repainted to look like the cancelled Series 2 variant. It's a bit rough around the edges, but it's a worthy stand-in for the unreleased toy, and I'm grateful to have it in my collection. However, amongst the Series 2 figures, both cancelled and fully released, one stands tall above the rest. A cancelled figure so unique, even Kenner themselves just couldn't resist but to reuse its sculpt for a later toy line. That's right, I'm of course referring to the T.Rex Gulper, the unreleased definitive new big dinosaur for the Series 2 line, not dissimilar to the Red Rex from Series 1. Its main gimmick was that it could actually swallow human action figures as well as smaller dinosaurs. The toy had a slit on its underside so you could retrieve your action figures from its stomach. This gimmick may sound familiar to seasoned Jurassic fans, as the Gulper shares this feature with Kenner's Bull T-Rex from the Lost World toy line. As a matter of fact, the Bull T-Rex as well as the Chaos Effect Omega Rex, by extension, are simply repaints of the original Gulper that never saw the light of day. Speaking of repaints, many Jurassic fans have taken it upon themselves over the years to repaint either the Omega or Bull T-Rex in such a fashion that it resembles the cancelled Gulper. This idea isn't exactly new, but I reckon it's my time to take a crack at it. Allow me to elaborate. While rummaging around downstairs last week, I managed to find my childhood Bull T-Rex in a storage container, and needless to say, it was in pretty ratty condition. I barely recognized the thing considering what I did to it in my childhood. I mean, it was covered in house paint, it was covered in grime and just filth, so instead of throwing it away or forgetting about it altogether, I actually took it upstairs and washed it off, sort of cleaned it off a little bit. I didn't manage to get all of it off, but I managed to get off a great chunk to where it was at least recognizable as a toy instead of a piece of hot garbage. And I was sort of thinking to myself, well, what the heck do I do with this thing now? I've got this sort of beat up Bull T-Rex figure, so I can't really display it because it looks like crap. You know what? Why don't I actually refurbish it and repaint it one final time? Yeah, that sounds good. What should I repaint it to? Oh, the Gulper! As previously mentioned, I first scrubbed it off of all the old paint and filth and just grime that had built up over the years of it being stuck in a storage closet. And I also removed the eyes from the head because you can clearly tell in the picture that the Gulper T-Rex does not have marble eyes, unlike the Bull and the Omega. It actually has different eyes, so I had to repaint those. But before I could get any repainting started, I had to go to Walmart and buy some paint. Normally people will tell you to go with acrylic if you're planning to repaint a rubber dinosaur, if you're a Jurassic collector, but I opted for matte spray paint. And the reason I chose to do that is A, I could cover more of the figure without having to do it all tediously with a tiny little brush, and 2, so I could sort of capture that airbrush effect without actually owning an airbrush, because oh my god, they're expensive. So instead of wasting both precious time and resources on stuff I can do with $4.99 per can, I just decided to opt for the lazier option. Some people may call me out for going cheap or being lazy and not as thorough, but
frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
Taking another look at the canceled figure, we can see the predominant colors are orange, olive green, and black, which are 3 of the 4 spray paints I actually got. Unfortunately, I couldn't find a matte orange. I could only find satin and gloss, and because I didn't want a glossy, shiny dinosaur toy, because that's just not realistic, I decided to go with satin after looking up. It's not as glossy as other things. Judging by the finished product, I can't really tell the difference too much, but I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine as to how well that went. As for the others, I tried to get at matte, which I was lucky enough to find. I ended up getting the brand Krylon because I figured out that Krylon actually adheres to rubber really well. And in addition, I also got clear protective matte as well to actually protect the spray paint after it's both applied and dried. So, now with all of that setup out of the way, it was finally time to get to painting. Originally, I was going to do it outside, but the wind was just not complying with me, and yes, that is me wearing a tie-dye shirt. Probably the only time you're ever going to see me wear tie-dye, so enjoy it while it lasts. But yeah, the wind was just way too much, and I decided to do it in the garage instead. I started off with a base layer of matte black Krylon spray paint, and I basically just went over the figure in a standing position, just all over the thing, and tried to get an even coating, as much as possible. There was a bit of a slip up later on when I sprayed the top of the head. I actually put on way too much, and you could see the buildup, so that kind of freaked me out. You could see me checking on it here and then throughout the rest of the paint job, but eventually I just go back and I have to dab it with a bag because it was just way too much buildup of paint, and if I let that dry, it would have been disastrous. So yeah, I just went over the thing as evenly as I could. It had been a while since I spray painted anything, so I was sort of sloppy, but, nothing a few touch-ups here and there can't fix. So after that first layer of paint dried, I actually went outside and I did the underside and got as much of the figure as I could. I also did the arms. I didn't film myself doing the arms, but I did in fact do the arms. I frickin' got the concrete on my driveway, which ticked me off because I tried my hardest not to do that, but alas, it was not meant to be. But overall, I think the first layer of just primer black for, to build the rest of the paint job off of went really nicely. It wasn't really shiny, it wasn't glossy, so I didn't have to worry about having a shiny dinosaur in my collection. It actually retained a lot of the detail. Unfortunately, it did sort of start storming outside. I heard some thunder, and I thought I heard rain, so I had to hurry up. So, moving on to the next bit, which was the olive green, or what I thought was olive green. It's actually Spanish moss, but I don't know, it's the same difference. I applied it regardless. What's important to note about the green on the Gulper T-Rex is it's not an all-encompassing color. The underside stays black, it's just the top side that is green, so I made sure to very carefully only get the sort of top and sides, and I tried to apply a gradient. It didn't work out exactly how I would have liked because I ended up having to add some yellow. I actually had some spare yellow lying around that I didn't know about until recording this, but it'll do. So I just went over it very precariously, trying not to get green in places it shouldn't have been green, and I think it worked out overall pretty decently. I mean, it looks enough like the picture, I would think. To be honest, I wasn't too confident with how it looked initially, so I did end up going back and doing a few touch-ups. I made sure to leave the face black for the orange, but I would think overall the green went alright enough to the point where I felt confident enough to move on. But again, you guys can tell me in the comments below if it even looked good or not. So after the green and after the black, it was time to move on to the orange of the face. Now, there was a lot riding on this because you can see in both pictures of the Gulper that the orange is applied in a very specific way. It's airbrushed in a way that, you know, sort of transcends down the neck, and it's very particular. And when applying this, I knew I had to get it just right, otherwise it would have looked completely off. I knew I couldn't overspray it, I knew I couldn't underspray it, and I'll just let this clip explain itself, because honestly, I couldn't do it justice. Here goes everything. Oh yeah. Oh no. That's bad. No overspray, please. Thank you. Okay, keep it contained, Cooper. The wind is blowing in that direction. I need to do this inside. Yes, unfortunately, the wind had struck again and was not allowing me to apply the spray paint with the precision that I would have liked. So I ended up taking it inside, and I was very careful. I was very delicate with how I applied the spray paint. I tried to get the gradient just right. I don't think I struck it exactly the way it is in the picture. I think it's a little less. I think I put it on a little heavy, but overall, I don't think it looks really bad. I think it's just slightly different from the picture. But then again, you know, it's passable, I would think. I hope it looks at least decent, and, you know, it somewhat resembles the picture. I think it does. I was confident enough at the time to move on. I ended up having to take the arms off because they were getting orange, but yeah, I sprayed them separately, and afterwards I just took it inside to dry. So while I left the dinosaur in the house to dry, I took the little marble eyes out from earlier and spray painted them yellow, because trying to hand paint them yellow with acrylic paint would have been a pain, so I decided to spray paint them and get an even coating so that I wouldn't have to worry about touch-ups later. And then after all that was said and done, and after the dinosaur had dried, I went back with some acrylic paints and did some touch-ups on the actual creature, such as the eyeshadow and removing a lot of the orange from the neck and replacing it with black, because I did overspray a tad bit. I also put the arms back into the sockets. I had to touch up them a little bit too, because the plastic bag had actually stuck to them and made them black, so I had to go over them again. The eyes, doing the pupils and the little light catch, admittedly they look a little sloppy on mine, but I don't think it's too noticeable from a distance, but I am a little bit self-conscious about that. I also went back and I did the mouth and the gums and the tongue and everything. I painted the teeth as well. Did a few touch-ups on the face where the orange paint was peeling. There were a few orange spots on the body, but I don't think it was too noticeable. I did the JP.22 mark as seen in the photograph. Honestly, at this point, seeing the dinosaur come together got me really excited, so now all that was left to do was to cover the figure in a protective sheen of matte clear spray paint. This would both protect the paint from wear and tear over time, as well as give the figure an overall matte appearance. Even though I was using matte paint already, it was starting to dry a little glossy, so I made sure to slather this thing in protective clear matte to give it an overall matte finish. So, after roughly 2 days, a little over $20, and lots of hard work, the customized Gulper T-Rex from Jurassic Park Series 2, retooled from the Bull T-Rex from Lost World, was finally finished. And I've had my doubts, but given the final result, I think I did a good job. What do you say? I won't lie and say it's perfect. It's undeniably rough around the edges, and there are some spots I wish I would have done better. The spray paint kind of made the rubber coarser than it once was, so it's a bit rougher to handle, but honestly, I'm really proud of what I managed to create. I think I honestly managed to put together a worthy substitute for the figure we never got. I put up a little diorama on top of the shelf with some other Series 2 figures just to see what this thing might have looked like if it was released back in the day, and honestly, I couldn't be happier. Thank you all so much for watching this little video of mine, and let me know if you want to see more like it. And as always, peace.